All right, do we have audio?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I guess it's 4 o'clock, so I guess we'll get started. My name is Wes Christiansen. I'm from the S.J. Quinney College blog in the University of Utah, in Salt Lake City. I'd like to talk to you a little bit today about cloud computing and technology mobility. I think cloud computing has kind of become a buzzword these days, and there's lots of people who have specific definitions for cloud computing. My definition may be a little bit different from what you've heard before. But I will endeavor to show you that hopefully this is something that maybe we ought to spend a little bit of time looking into. How many people here run their own servers and all their own hardware and spend a lot of time, in those in that bare metal? A few of you out there. All right, so hopefully it won't be too much of a shock, and hopefully I don't have too much of a man, one of those days. Hopefully I don't have things that you will object too much to in my presentation. So let me start by kind of giving you an outline of what I'm going to talk about today. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how we at the law school in the University of Utah kind of came to think of cloud computing as perhaps the way we wanted to go. I'm going to talk to you about traditional IT versus what I call cloud IT. I'm going to talk to you about some strategies that we're using to move to more of cloud IT. And then I'm going to go into some of the different applications and tools that we're using that are kind of cloud tools. So let's see if I can see them work. There we go. So what got us thinking? So about a year ago, we started a project. We like to call it our Global Justice Project Iraq, with the idea that there'll be other global justice projects. But Global Justice Project Iraq has people from our law school actually going into Baghdad and working with the people in Baghdad to rewrite the Iraqi constitution, and specifically the judicial portion of the constitution. So we have a lot of opportunities for our faculty and our students to really be part of something that may not only just change Iraq, but could potentially help to change the world. So we began by coming up with a lot of things we thought were important for this project, and one of them was video conferencing and the ability to have these video meetings. So we wanted someone in Iraq to be able to say, okay, here's this bit of legislation, or here's this bit of constitutional reform that we want to do here, and then they could have this discussion, and they could share, and they could work on things together. And we went around and we talked to a bunch of people about what kind of products would be best. We've heard of Polycom and Tandberg, and there's some other ones out there, but the people in Iraq really didn't have those kind of resources, especially when we got started. They're still rebuilding. We've just bombed the crap out of them, and so there's very little that they can do. So we eventually got around to asking people about, well, what about software? What if we send laptops over there? What kind of resources are we going to have? And we were told that a product called Meritech would probably be our best bet. It's one of those products that's really great for this kind of thing that we're doing. Meritech is a fairly expensive product. Luckily, we had some money from the government to spend on it. And it was one of those products. You have to have your server. You have to have clients on each individual machine. And of course, when we got started, we got a bunch of laptops, and we configured them all right. We sent them to Iraq. And they worked pretty good at first. And then new people came, and we got more laptops over there. And we just had a really difficult time maintaining this state of readiness. When we wanted to do presentations, it always ended up that someone wanted to do a video presentation at whatever time it was, and it was like an hour later when we ever get started. And sometimes people couldn't even communicate via video or whatever it might be because you just couldn't get things configured properly. So this ended up being a very expensive mistake. I'm sure my boss would not like me to tell you exactly how much it costs, but tens of thousands of dollars on this product that we found just extremely frustrating. Now Meritech is a great product. In fact, not too long ago, Google bought it up, and so we'll probably see some cool things using that technology in the future, but it just wasn't the right tool for the job. And so about 6 months into the project, I ran into a product called Adobe Connect Pro. I don't know if any of you have heard of it before or seen it, but it's basically like Meritech on steroids. You don't have to install your own server. You don't have to have anything other than computers that have Flash. Now, there was a beta program we were part of, and we got free license for a certain amount of time, and they were really nice to let us extend it for a couple months. But even purchasing it, it's much more efficient and much more cost-effective than our Meritech product. And I'm going to do a little demonstration on that a little bit later, but it got us thinking, well, if we can make a mistake like this Meritech mistake, how many other Meritechs have we bought in the past? And we looked in our server room, we've got, hopefully they're not all Meritechs, but we've got a lot of money put into servers, a lot of money put into hardware, and how much of it are we really using? I mean, some people say that they get ready to do a transition to virtual machines, and they find that their servers are running at like 2% or 3% all the time. So it's a great idea to transition everything to these virtual servers. And we've actually started doing that ourselves, and we find that's a great thing to do. But how much of that do we really have to own? That's the question. So traditional IT would say that you have a local computer. This is a faculty staff computer. Maybe it's your own computer. You have a series of servers. You have your own web server, your own MySQL server, your own domain controllers. All this you own the switches that can connect everything. And owning them means that you have to have people that know how to work on them. You have to have people that know how to handle switches. You have to have spares. You have to have some kind of recovery plan. And there's all these things that are involved with owning your own stuff. But you have this warm, fuzzy feeling that you can walk over, you can touch your servers, and you know that they're good. You know that if a RAM module goes bad, you can go and swap it out yourself. And this is kind of how we've always done it. And this is what we've been doing in the law school. And as we've kind of gone forth, every time we get ready for a budget, we go, okay, what new servers do we want, and what kind of cool things can we get? And unfortunately, I don't have a good picture of it right now. There's a good example as to what we're doing with all this stuff. My wife just decided to get a little bit creative. And she wanted to make something that represented me and her at the same time. And she's really into gardening. So she came to me and she said, do you have any extra, those things that go on computers, like little card things? I said, sure, I've got some old stuff. I dug through some of the parts, and I found some motherboards and different things. So we finally found a couple of video cards that were the same size and some different things. And she put them together, made a flower box. Now, 3 years ago or 5 years ago, that flower box would have cost you about $2,000. And today, that flower box has been, the parts of that flower box have been sitting in a closet for 2 years doing nothing. And eventually, all these servers that we buy are going to go the same way as the flower box. So we've thought maybe we ought to look at getting rid of some of this stuff, or if not getting rid of it, or finding a better place to have it. And so what about using this thing they keep calling the cloud? Now, some people say that if you know what kind of hardware you have, it doesn't count as the cloud. Or if you know where your server is located, it's not the cloud. And I think I would reject that point. And I think that anything that you don't have to manage yourself, any kind of service that you can pay for, whether it be networking, whether it be server hardware, whatever it may be, it kind of is this idea of the cloud. So at the law school, we said, okay, we've got these Meritech problems, and a funny thing is we immediately looked at our hardware, and we said, okay, we've got this bad experience, and what other things can we de-Meritech? And so we looked in our server rooms, and we said, wow, we got a lot of servers in there. And we can't really throw the servers away, so we started thinking, okay, well, what else can we do? And so one of the first things that came to mind was networking. So we have a network, and we're like I don't know how many of you are the same way. We're like an island in the world or the sea of campus. We have all our own stuff. We have our own switches, and we manage our own switches. We have to have our own spares. We have to have our own maintenance plans. We have to have all our own people to manage and maintain those switches and troubleshoot them. And we said, well, we basically live in a world where this group outside of us maintains everything else. Most of the undergrad stuff is all run by the central IT. They have closets full of extra switches. They have people on call 24/7 to manage these kind of things. What would it take to have them manage the hardware? We'd still like to make sure we can control VLANs and move ports around, but I'd really hate to continue paying licensing fees on all of our switches and worrying about downtime if we don't have a replacement. So we contacted Central IT, and lo and behold, our grad school is not really that much different than some of the undergrad programs, and they would really have no problem with extending their reach out a little bit further. And we found that it gets to the point where they know our problems before we do. And as you can imagine, not having to pay those fees, not having to worry about having downtime because the switch goes down and we already used our spare, is a very comforting feeling. And so that's just one of the first strategies for change that we've gone through. And I'm going to talk about a few of them that we've used and that we're moving towards. And perhaps some of these may be applicable in your own circumstances. So one of the problems we had when I first got to the law school 4 years ago was we had this closet we called our server room. Our closet is about a fifth the size of this room. It had an ancient air conditioning unit that eventually started going out about once every 2 weeks. We'd come in, all the servers are at like 120, 130 degrees Celsius. Half of them already shut down. On our campus, it takes forever to get that kind of stuff fixed, no matter how many times we called. 6 months later, when we finally got a new air conditioner, we don't know what kind of damage, this long-term damage we've had. We don't have a card swipe on the door. I mean, we're kind of an older building, but I don't imagine there's too many of us that have our own data centers, our own environmental backups. I mean, our data center has just got a new sprinkler system in it. The sprinkler's pointed right at the servers. So if they catch fire, we're going to have those out. This fire's out with water really quick. And so we just got a new library upgrade. Not the law library, but campus library. It's this giant new library, and one of the things they decided to put in was a giant data center. And of course, when you first get a data center, there's nothing in it. And they're looking for stuff to put in it. And of course, one of the first things we did was say, hey, what if we put our stuff in it? And we called them up, and lo and behold, they are willing to put our stuff in it. And on a campus, all the routing and fiber is all laid by our main campus IT. And so running a fiber link from their data center to our law school so that it's basically transparent as far as networking goes was no big deal. And so now we've kind of got rid of that, this closet that we have that we're calling our data center, our server room. And we have this resource, this real data center that we really don't have to pay hardly anything for. It's already there. And it is a great asset for very, very minimal price. So I already talked about negotiating with campus to manage wireless hardware and our networking hardware. We've actually also moved our wireless to campus. They have this idea that they will have a ubiquitous wireless network. And I think originally they said it's going to be the coolest thing ever when you can pick up your laptop and walk from one end of the campus to the other and not lose a connection. And I don't know how many people have walked like the 2 miles across campus carrying a laptop, but apparently you can do it without losing a connection. And finally, we're looking right now at having the main IT host our virtual servers. We invested in a really nice virtual server host. And we've been experimenting a lot with the options that gives us, and we've had a lot of success with it. But once again, we're thinking to ourselves, well, they have this giant data center full of racks and racks that are always getting updated. They have a lot more money than us. Why do we have all our own stuff? When it's coming down to virtual servers, I mean, if it's set up right, we can literally, with this V motion that some of the guys were talking about earlier, we can actually drag our servers onto their machine, figuratively, and have uninterrupted service. So if that's our backup plan, why don't we just go with that to begin with? So we found that if you look at the upfront costs of purchasing a server and maintaining it, installation upgrades, man hours, and all these other things that go with servers, environmental concerns. Now these are just rough figures. It's really actually pretty comparable. In fact, you may find that you save a lot of money by not owning your own server hardware and software. And because we're on a campus that generally has a big main central IT already, it's really not that hard to believe that you could lease some of the space to have your own virtual server sit on their machine and their bare metal rather than your own. So after we kind of looked at our hardware and our networking, started to look into some of the options we had for software. Now, I think a lot of you are starting to understand how cool these netbooks are. And the more we can move our software off of those little expensive, powerful computers that we call laptops and onto servers and these cloud-type utilities, the more we can use those super cheap laptops. And so, I mean, it's got to the point now where you can have a netbook and do something like Photoshop without having to worry about, this super powerful processor. There's applications that are available online that use some server out in the middle of nowhere's resources to do photo editing. And I'm going to show you one of those. And then, there's data backup that's available. Someone talked earlier about SugarSync. I'm going to talk about something called Dropbox. There are just a lot of resources out there that are going to be things that we can take advantage of as universities, nonprofit organizations that can really save us a lot of money and save us a lot of time. Also, like I mentioned before, virtual servers, whether they're full-on virtual servers that we manage like a Windows 2008 server or whatnot, or a Linux server that's hosted on someone else's bare metal. Maybe they're virtual applications. So I'm going to talk a little bit about virtual applications. How many people have used virtual applications before or seen them? No, I'm talking about virtual applications, actually, like for instance, Microsoft Word. Or Citrix is an option. Citrix has been around for a long time. Citrix, you need to install a client on your computer, on the computers that you run, and I think they're getting better and better. But so one of the options we're looking into right now is, let's see if we can get here. So here is a Windows computer on our network. Here I have PowerPoint 2007. I have Word 2007, and so this is just a shortcut to an executable. I get this little pop-up that says it's running on VMware, and the first time I run it, it takes a little bit longer to run. But this virtual application is sitting on our server and using horsepower that's in this giant server farm. Let me close this here. Somewhere else. So I can run this program on my office computer without ever having to install it. This means that there's one copy that you can manage. It means that this copy, should there be an update needed, can be updated once. It means that if there's an application like, I don't know how many of you have faculty members that are using WordPerfect. Our faculty members like to use WordPerfect 12, which is like, from 6 years ago. 5, and it just will drive you crazy. We actually have some applications that will only run on Internet Explorer 6. And so with something like this, all it really takes is to drag and drop a shortcut icon onto their desktop, like here's WordPerfect. Just dragged it on there just right before we started. And now a little pop-up here saying that it's loading, and there you go, WordPerfect.
How big is the AC? 5 meg, that's pretty small.
I think it may be less than that. Because this is actually not even an executable, it's a shortcut to an executable. So we're looking at 803 bytes. And then, of course, when you're looking at these kind of things, there is a certain number of files that are stored on the local machine, just like profile files. So it's not completely housed in that 4K, whatever the word size on your computer. But as you can imagine, this makes things a lot easier.
Are you guys serving up the license fees, or how are you managing?
We have licensing managed on the back end. We have a license manager who takes care of those for us. We actually, right now, are only rolling it out to a select number of computers, so we know exactly how many it could potentially be all at once. And right now, we're running it on all of our lab machines, or getting ready to run it on all our lab machines and all our Patreon computers, so that's really handy. So the idea is that when one of our faculty members calls us up and says, well, you know how I said I was ready to transition to Word, and everything was going to be great. Well, I hate it. And I hate that stupid ribbon, and I never want to use it again, and I want my WordPerfect 12 back. We send someone up there, and they drag the icon onto their desktop. Okay, here you go. And before, I don't know if any of you have installed WordPerfect 12, but it requires that you install it, and then install it again for Service Pack 1, and 2, and 3, and it takes 45 minutes to install. And then you get that great install shield manager that says, wait, you have 0 programs that need to be updated every time you start up.
Can I just clarify that the desktop is running locally,
Right.
and the VMware is really sitting on the server, right?
Yeah.
And you're just dropping a shortcut of the
So all the
application.
processing for the application is done on the server.
But how does the interaction go for locally stored? I mean, obviously you're storing the file locally.
Yep.
And
So what you need to do is you need to, basically what the idea is you can actually set the defaults for that particular application to the location where the shortcut's pointing at. So if they double click on a .doc, it's going to run that application rather than trying to run something on the local machine.
and there
So
are no compatibility issues?
we haven't found any compatibility issues. Now, obviously, the one thing this means is that this is going to be the best for computers that are sitting on someone's desk. It's not a great application for laptops. So we're trying to convince everyone that, hey, what if you use something like this for your desk? And what if we can say, hey, you want to go on a trip or take a laptop? How about a netbook? And so by doing that, we kind of create this issue where they have all these files that are stored on their desktop, and now they want to go on a trip, take this netbook, and now how do they get to their files? So what we've found is a product called Dropbox. And you see, I have a little link right here on the top. It's way up by the ceiling. A little link called Dropbox. It says it's Dropbox, all files up to date. I click on that, I can view my Dropbox. It's just a folder on my computer. It doesn't matter if it's on a Mac, it doesn't matter if it's on a PC. There's a number of folders that come by default. There's a photos folder. There's a public folder. There's a bunch of, it just looks like any other folder file system. But anything I put in this folder is backed up on Dropbox's server. So that means if there's a file, like for instance my resume, I want to have my resume in this folder. I want to be able to access it from any computer I go to. If I am talking to the dean or someone from HR and they want to see my resume, I don't have to fumble for my flash drive and realize that I left it in the car. I can get that file from wherever I am. And so, if you can imagine, you have a faculty member who has an office, and how it's been always for us is that they either get a laptop or a desktop. They get to choose. And their laptop is typically been like a $2,000 setup. It's a really nice ThinkPad with a dock and dual monitors. And when that once or twice during their career, when they unclick it and take it home to work with it, it's really handy to have all their files there. Well, with Dropbox, and there's other products out there, one they mentioned earlier, SugarSync. It's the same kind of idea. anything they put in that folder will automatically be synced to the server and then to any other computer that has that client on it. So the client is as easy as double-clicking and typing in your username and password that you use to create the account. It's really, really easy. And so you can put it on a flash drive. It's not something that they officially support, but the idea is that you can kind of go away from flash drives. So every computer that you want to use, your home computer, your desktop at work, your laptop, they can all have the client on it. Now, the thing is our desktop hard drive space is getting so cheap these days that having that extra 20 gigs or whatever that you kind of have on all the computers really isn't that big a deal. At my own house, I have a desktop that's got.
What's the quota? Is there a quota on the Dropbox?
The free version gives you 2 gigs for free, fully functional, everything you want, but it's only 2 gigs. They have a $100 a year package that's 50 gigs, and then I think they have a 200 gig package. Actually, no, it's 50 gigs for $100, and for $200 it's 100 gigs. But that's fully backed up, AES encryption, and actually secure connections between the files. So for those,
Can you have multiple users use that 50 gigs, or do you have to have it for?
well, of course you could give everyone the username and password,
But you can't.
but right now they claim that that's a feature that's coming. But yes, you won't be able to do that for that 50 gigs. However, you can share files. So say, if you look in here, I have one called Share with Mark. That's the one I share with my boss. He has documents that he wants me to see. He puts them in there. Nothing says you're fired, so I think I'm safe for now. I have a neighbor who has Dropbox as well. If we want to share files between our places, I drag it in there. It uploads it as fast as my internet connection will allow it to go, which is usually pretty fast, and then it comes back down. Yeah.
Do you offer Dropbox to every faculty member who wants it?
They have that option, certainly. Right now, we're kind of on a as-needed basis with it. We've got a number of faculty members that are testing it out.
But each person gets their own account.
Yeah.
You don't have one for the school that they share.
Right. Each person will get their own account. And they can share files. See, one of the issues that we've run into with having our own file storage shared drive is that people just throw stuff in there all the time. We have kind of a quota, but when the professor says, I have to have it on there, you don't tell them, well, too bad, So, our administration doesn't, that's the problem. So, you can have this file backup that each person can kind of manage on their own. They can have access to it wherever and whenever they want. One of the cool things also is that if you go over here into your public folder, everything in this public folder is accessible via, if I just right-click on it and click copy public link, I can just copy that into an email and send it to people. So that means if you have a faculty member that's like, I have a PDF I want to send to everyone, and you go, oh, okay, well, you can just email it, and then you find out that it's 50 megs. That's generally a bad idea. If you allow 50 gigs, I'm surprised, but if you just, we've had great luck with just saying, here, copy this link into your email, send it out, and everyone can get it.
How successful do you think it'll be to train folks? Because we do have local storage, and we have in our shared space something called a private folder, and something called an inbox and an outbox. And like if I wanted to share that huge PDF with everybody, I just stick it in my outbox and send the link to my NetFiles thing. And my boss even, like I'll stick stuff in his inbox, like a Word document, and he'll email me back and say, can you please just have it in email? And I'm like, we're trying to be the example.
Right. And
how do you, have you guys talked about that, like how to train folks to stop emailing stuff around?
the trick is to really teaching them what the reason is behind it, and that is sometimes the trickiest thing. Like I said, right now we've been doing it with people that are interested in being able to do some of these things. They come to us and they say, how can I send this giant file to everyone? I've always sent it by email, but now it says I can't send it. You say, well, why don't you just copy this, right-click on the file, click on the copy public link, and send this as an email. And they go, wow, that's a lot easier than I thought it could be.
Yeah. Well, and the advantage to this as well is you can send it to folks' Gmail accounts or
Absolutely.
Yahoo accounts or whatever. It's not just regulated to your school
Yep.
email. So that's cool.
And one disadvantage we found is that this particular file, say it goes to someone who you don't want to have it, they can still download it. There's no sharing in this public way with someone that you don't, there's no preventing someone else from downloading it from your public folder.
Is there a way to get a confirmation on if something was downloaded or when something was downloaded?
There isn't, as far as I'm aware of. And like I said, this is Dropbox. There's also some other products out there that may have those kind of features. I've always been kind of the opinion that if you can keep it as simple as possible, it's generally the best. And Dropbox is very simple. So, yep. So any of these ones, anything I want to share, I can just right-click on the folder, click share it with a friend. Then they share the folder, and that folder shows up on their computer too. So anything I put in that, it's automatically synced to their computer. So that comes in really handy for groups that want to work on a project.
Yes, but you could, the public availability, you could handle by putting a password on an individual file.
Certainly, yeah. Yeah.
With the sharing, does someone have to have a Dropbox? The recipient of the share have to have a Dropbox?
If you want to share a folder together, yes, they'll need a Dropbox account. If you want to share a file from your public folder, no, just an email.
When you say automatically sync, that means if somebody updates the file on their local, it's going to be updated without.
Yes, yes, and what that means also is that it's really important that they actually have included revision history, and they do. So if you are sharing a file with a number of people, and that one person updates the file and it screws it up, you can go back to an earlier version of it without having a huge hassle to try to find who has the latest version of it.
With our faculty, they all have map a network drive and save a data back to the night and all that kind of stuff. When you go this route, would you just have them saving it on their hard drive and moving away from the network drive?
Yeah, that's kind of the idea. You got all of our computers have like 80 to 160 gigs of space already, and end up saving most of their stuff in our previous way on our network drive anyway. So they've got this giant hard drive that's barely being used, and this product is not very expensive, and then they get the capability of being able to access it anywhere. So it seems like it's kind of a win-win situation in our book.
Do you usually go ahead and buy the $100 account, or just start on the free account? I know most of our faculty aren't using 2 gigs.
Right. We've always just done, you start with the 2 gigs, if you need any more space, just let us know.
And they'll get some kind of message, and they'll call you and say, I can't do it anymore.
Yep. Yeah, it says you're getting close to your limit, upgrade for however much money. And then we found that some people will just do it on their own. They're like, oh, I'd rather have 100 gigs, and they just buy it on their own, and they find how useful it is. And one of the issues that we have is we have the network drive space. And everyone, they always call it their in drive. And their in drive, they save all their files there, their documents. And so they've got their Microsoft Word open at work, and they've opened a file that's on their in drive. And then they go home and they try to access that file through our web portal. And it says, like, you can't open it, it's locked. And they were so excited about going home and working on it, and now there's nothing they can do. They have to come back to work, close the file, and go look, and if they're going to access it again. And so Dropbox, just by the way it works, you just never have that problem. It's always kept up to date.
With the revision history, does it alert you if there's a conflict and allow you to resolve conflict in documents, or?
I've never run into a conflict before, so I can't tell you that for sure. But I know that if someone updates it, on a Mac, there's growl updates, so you'll see a pop-up that says any file that's been updated. And on Windows, you'll see a little message bar from the bottom that says this file's been updated to the latest version. It's a pretty cool tool.
So where's the stuff actually housed?
The Dropbox, where their servers and stuff is, I don't know.
Does that concern you?
No, actually, that's one of the things. do you really know where your money is when you put it in a Wells Fargo? I mean, it's your money. How come you don't know where exactly? Is it really there? So,
Just the faculty don't think about it.
right. And that one of the nice things about it too is because a lot of these storage products where your data is stored somewhere, like on their InDrive, it's available only when they have a network connection, or only when they have, only when they're at the law school, or when they can get a VPN that works right to the law school. But this means they always have a copy on their local machine. So if they get to where on their airplane and they don't have a network connection, they can edit the file, get ready, and then when they get another network connection, they'll upload the file and resync the file to all their sources, all the locations where it's at.
What about backup options? I mean, at least when you have a network, you get a panic phone call from somebody saying, I accidentally deleted something, can I pull it from the backup drive?
You don't have
Is
to
there
worry.
any option for this?
On Dropbox, all that stuff is backed up for you. So if you delete a file, unless you go in and say permanently delete this file, which is a pretty complex procedure, they'll always have a backup copy of it.
How quickly can they restore it?
Let's try it. So I've got recommended.html. I'm going to move it to the trash. Yeah, and it's all deduplicated, so you don't have to worry too much about it. Go to the web interface. Yep, you go to the web interface to do the restore, because that's where the backups are. So you'll see it has my recent events on here. The recent event is I deleted recommended.html. So I'll click on that. And there's the couple different versions that I had. So I'm going to click on this version right here, deleted by Wes Christiansen, which is, it was last updated on 4 weeks ago. And I'll click restore and confirm. And back. Yeah.
How many versions does it keep and how long will it?
As far as I know, it keeps all of them. I've never seen, because it does duplication, it just does the different snapshots, so very, very minimal storage for that kind of stuff.
And it even tells you which computer you're on.
Absolutely, absolutely. So if you go to your account, you can go to your account, manage computers. So all the computers that I think I have eight computers now hooked up to this thing. And all of them have these same files, so it makes it really, really easy and really convenient. All right. So, like I said, I've found this tool to be extremely helpful. Like I said, I stopped using a flash drive for the most part because I can get everything online on any computer that I use. Okay.
So if a hard drive crashed, faculty member's hard drive crashed, and you wanted to restore everything that was on it, is there a way to determine what was on that hard drive?
Now, see, Dropbox backs up this folder. So there are programs out there like this one someone else mentioned earlier called SugarSync that back up your My Documents folder in your desktop, and you can check the box for the one you want.
Right.
Dropbox will back up everything that's in that Dropbox folder.
Right.
So if you can, as long as you have the things that you want in the Dropbox folder, and you can have them in the Dropbox folder with hard links on Unix and other things. So it's really, it can be wherever you want, but they're really in Dropbox.
But without having to determine which versions of the thing.
You don't have to worry about that. That's all stored online. So all you do is you install the client, you say, this is who I am, this is my account, hit enter, and it automatically starts downloading all the files. All the version history and stuff, that's stored on their server. So you, like I said, you come up to your little Dropbox icon, you click web interface, you go to the third version back, click on it, restores it.
Okay, but if my hard drive crashed today and I want everything that was there 10 minutes ago.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly what's going to happen. As long as that file has had a chance to replicate itself up to the server, it'll be there when you install it. Yeah. So if you have something like this and you have virtual applications, you have very little to set up on someone's computer if they have a problem. I'd like to talk about a couple other things. Let's see here. So Mozilla Prism, the next thing I want to talk about. Now, one of the issues we have had with moving people to web applications is they want to click on some icon that is an application that runs. You know, they're used to, when they go to their email, they're used to clicking on Outlook. They don't want to go click on something, go to some website and have it open in a tab. And, you know, another tab crashes the browser, and then whatever they're working on disappears. Now, Google now has Google Chrome, which supposedly all the tabs are different versions of Google Chrome, so if one crashes, the rest don't. But not everyone uses Google Chrome. And so with Mozilla Prism, what it does is it will let you go to a website. Let me get out of here for a second. So if I go to a website, sorry, this is XKCD website here. So I go to docs.google.com. And this is what I'm used to. This is my Google Docs that everyone's probably heard of. And I want to make this into an application that someone can just click on and run, instead of having to go to Google Docs. Click on Tools, and once I've installed Google Prism, I click Convert to Website Application. Say I wanted an icon on my desktop, and I've already created one, so I'm not going to click that again. Now, I have, let me close this. I have an icon on my desktop called Google Docs. And it's not just a shortcut, it's basically an application. So, sorry, I opened it when I had a bigger screen. But now it looks like its own application.
So that tool is something that Google Chrome, and once you...
Oh, Google Chrome does something like it. This is actually separate. This is something from Mozilla Labs, the same guys that give you Firefox. And it is a plugin for Firefox.
It's a plugin.
Mhm.
Okay.
I just think that they
What's
just,
the plugin called again?
Prism.
Prism.
So any application, any web app that you use that you want people to be able to get to quickly, and it kind of takes that scary web app idea out of the picture, and you say, here, just double click on this icon. And you know, if they don't have things set up the first time, it's going to ask for their username and password just like every other web app. But you have an application that you see here. It's in my taskbar. I can quit it. I can do all these other things like you normally do for an application. And it takes a little bit of the scariness out of web applications. So first, here's Google Docs. It's a great tool that is basically a cloud application that people can use to share documents, to have access to their files wherever they want. Another one I like to talk about is Buzzword. Has anyone else heard of Buzzword? It's not really that popular, but it's really cool looking. And for some people, it's all about the Flash. And Buzzword is entirely Flash. It's made by Adobe. And hopefully my network connection's not too slow. There we go. It's kind of a slow connection here. So Adobe Buzzword is like Google Docs, but it's a beautiful Flash rendition of it. So if I create a new document, it usually doesn't take this long. I'm sorry, that's a little bit slow. It's just like you imagine. You type in your document. If I want to share it with someone, so I just click the share button down at the bottom. I type in someone I know. I hit next. And it sends the person an email. I can say, hey, you want to share this file, or what do I want to do? Click on it. And then now Aaron Hurd, guy that I work with, Scatter here actually, is now a co-author. So if you have a number of people that are working on a project together, you know, you have all the tools that you normally have. You can put in images, you can do tables, you can have comments. Let me shrink it down just a little bit so you can see. There's the revision history. It gives you flagged words if you misspell things. I can edit it. I can save it. I can have Aaron edit it. He can add comments while I'm typing. We can communicate about the document while we go along. If we say, hey, we're working on this product and now we want to have a meeting, we can just click the meet button. this becomes a video conference with our document, and it's free. So this is actually the product that I originally saw that kind of led us to the product called Adobe Connect Pro, which I think really revolutionized the way we do our video conferencing. This also has a nice voice conference thing. You just tell everyone the phone number so people that don't have computers, they can actually get on. Really helpful when we had people that were in Baghdad and people all over the country in the United States and in Europe. Whether or not they have a good internet connection or not, they would be part of the conference. Share your screen, you can have a chat.
How many is there a limit?
Now this is the free version of Connect Now, and I think the limit is something like 5. When you go to Connect Pro, which is the pay version, there is a limit based on how much you pay for. You can pick how many presenters you want. You pay for it's very, very reasonable prices for education for number of presenters you want. You have 5 presenter licenses. But then basically you can have as many people join the conference, like thousands of people join the conference. So I'll open up, let's see, go back. So let's go to Adobe Connect Pro. All I need to do is click, let's see if it'll let me do it. Okay. This thing. There you go. Sorry, I've always been a PowerPoint user until recently. So you send everyone a email that has a link in it. They type in the name, enter the room, and as you can imagine, this is a lot easier than trying to get someone who doesn't know anything about computers and installing things to run. Opens up. Now the thing that's cool about Connect Pro is you can have different rooms. So this room here is the room, it's like my wife has joined. You can have so you can have a bunch of people in this room here is the waiting room. And so as you can imagine, you start the presentation, or you say, okay, presentation is starting at 5 o'clock. So 5 o'clock, supposedly everyone's joined by 5 o'clock, and the presentation starts. Well, as you know, it doesn't usually start right on time. You create a room like this so people can go into, and once you're in it, then once everyone's there, you can have someone on as a moderator. And apparently my boss has left the conference, so I can't turn on my video camera. But what can happen is you can have a person who is like the tech guy. He comes in and he says, okay, does anyone have any problems? And he can kind of help people through problems should they have any. It's very rare in this program. The presenter can have his camera on. You can have as many presenters as you have licenses for. And I think we've gone up to 4 presenters at a time. It gets a little bit ridiculous at 4. But typically you have one presenter who then can use PowerPoint, use web applications, direct people to web pages. Because it's all in Flash and it's all on their computer, if I share a link, that link is instantly opened up on your computer and you can see what I'm doing. You don't have to like copy and paste or anything like that. It'll instantly take you to the website. Good. Yes.
Just one camera?
You can have up to 4. You can have up to 4 cameras at a time. Like I said, I don't think anyone has a camera right now. So what will happen is that people who are allowed to.
She says she does.
She has a camera, but she's not a presenter, so unfortunately she can't come.
So,
Yeah, go ahead.
so only presenters can participate that way? It's not like anybody who's logged in right now?
Right, it's like a classroom. You can make anyone a presenter. So if I'm the host, I can say, okay, now so and so's a presenter, and you can bring them in. and then everyone can see them, and they can upload their presentation and do all these different things.
So it's like a video conferencing more thing than like a Google video chat kind of a thing.
Right.
Okay.
How is this different from DimDim?
From DimDim? I haven't used DimDim very much, so I couldn't really tell. Right. No, I honestly don't know much about DimDim. One thing that's really nice about this is I can completely customize what this looks like. This has been customized with, as you can see, we can have a poll up here. We can have discussion notes that someone could type into. Apparently someone's typed in garbage, or it's there for me to see. And then once I go into the actual presentation, it may be completely different. We may still have this box up here for the list of everyone, or we may not. And as a presenter, I would be able to drag and drop these little windows into the visible area and be able to customize it as I went. And you can actually go in and do this beforehand, or you can do it as you go if you want to keep things a little more free-flowing. It's a great product that we've had a lot of success with. And so if you are looking for something like this, I seriously recommend you go check it out.
How much is it? Do you know, do you remember? I can price.
So we thought it was going to be closer to $10,000 for the package, but it was much, much less than that. Yeah, so we saw originally.
$39.95 a month.
What's that?
$39.95 a month.
Is that what it says?
Well, yeah.
You're guessing. Yeah, it's actually real.
That's what it is.
That's what their website says?
Yeah.
Okay. It's very inexpensive. It's very inexpensive. And, it's one of those things where we bought, I think, 3 or 4 presenter licenses. And apparently it's ended now. And we can just add them as we go. So we get ready for a presentation and we want to have more presenter licenses. We just buy that. We can keep it for 1 month, or we can keep it as part of our contract. Just pay as you go kind of thing. It's a really, really useful tool. So finally, one that I didn't put on here, but I was just kind of reminded of that I've used in the past, and it's kind of one of those things when we talked about how come we can't have more people on here. I don't know how many people have heard of Tokbox. Have you heard of Tokbox? Tokbox is. How about has anyone heard of Meebo?
Yeah.
Okay, Meebo, right. Meebo has just recently, sorry, I got this. So let's go to Tokbox. Okay, here's Tokbox. So Meebo has video that's powered by Tokbox. Tokbox is basically chat. It's like Meebo, but it's specifically for video chat. So if I can invite as many people as I want into a chat, and we can all have video chat, and we can just have this giant, 30-person video chat where there's a million different faces, and you can decide which one you want to look at more, and you can grow faces and shrink faces and whatever you want to do.
No offense,
And so Tokbox is one of those resources that if you need to have something where everyone is kind of has equal grounds, it's a great resource, and it's free. So you sign in with your Gmail account, just like you do in Meebo if you're using it. And it's awesome. They have a web client, so if you're someone who uses Google Talk, you could use Google Talk. You could use this instead of Google Talk. And there's Aaron, signed in using Gmail. So, and if I want a video chat with him, I click video chat. And here I am. And there we go. Eventually it'll go on. And like I said, this is one of those things that's really cool. It'll let you add as many people as you want. Most products.
so everybody can see everybody.
Everyone can see everyone. Your camera's broken. Sorry.
Does she know her camera's broken?
No, it's Aaron's camera's broken. So, all right. So That's pretty much all the tools I have today. There's a lot of other really cool things out there. And it's really, you know, once you kind of get in the mindset that that as IT, you should really be doing things that make law IT different. I mean, we're law IT. We're not just like your average everyday IT people. We have things that make us different than other places on campus. There's really hardly anyone else at the University of Utah that's doing the kind of projects we are with foreign countries, with this video conferencing and these kind of particular needs. There's a lot of things, there's a lot of ways that our law professors teach that are unique to law. And so the more time we can spend doing these particular tasks and the less time we can do doing redundant tasks, the better experience our end users are going to have. So if anyone has any questions or wants to get in contact with me about some of the things we're doing, thank you for coming.